Bernard Arnault, the legend and CEO behind Louis Vuitton and all things luxury, quitting after Chinese manufacturers exposed the brand for exploiting their customers. Well, word is that Bernard is on his way out way earlier than anyone expected. And no, isn't your typical graceful exit. Forget the champagne toasts or fond farewells here. It's a full-blown luxury industry meltdown, complete with panic attacks, frantic emails, and luxury brands clutching their pearls in horror. So what's really going on? Let's get right into it.
What's the price for this bag?
This one?
No.
Roughly about $829.
$829,
2,900.
2,900.
I'm sorry?
Is that true in China they're making those more cheaper?
I have no idea. We have our bags are produced by our own company. We have workshops all around the world.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, let's set the stage. Bernard was supposed to reign supreme until he hit 85. Would you believe he planned to be 85 years old, sitting atop a mountain of Birkin bags and Dom Perignon, living his best billionaire fantasy without a care in the world? However, reality came crashing down fast. Now, at the tender age of just 76, it looks like Bernard has no choice but to hang his designer boot into an unceremonious early retirement, or if you may, a grand escape, and not for glamorous reasons. Behind all those glossy magazine spreads and glitzy runway shows, the real story is starting to unravel at lightning speed. As you all must have heard by now, it all started when Chinese manufacturers leaked a top-guarded secret, exposing the ugly truth hidden beneath those shiny designer logos. And honey, they didn't just light a match. They threw a whole gasoline-soaked bonfire on it, leaving the luxury world scrambling to control the blaze. Let's rip the band-aid off and drag every skeleton out of the luxury closet. Things have gotten so bad that the Italian government is now involved, and when I tell you didn't pull up calm or cute, they stormed in with lawsuits, subpoenas, and straight up no chill. They dragged Dior, LVMH, and Armani for filth, accusing them of lying about where their luxury goods were actually made. Instead of a sun-drenched Italian village bursting with artisan heritage, what they uncovered were cramped, fluorescent-lit Chinese factories churning out bags like it was Black Friday.
Some say as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China. But those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that. They take almost finished bags from China factories back to their own countries and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something like that. That way, the bags will appear at their boutiques as made in Italy or made in France. You know, those sophisticated European countries, which make you feel mysterious, royal, and thus luxury.
Dior's Italian partner got snatched straight into court after prosecutors caught them outsourcing to shady Chinese sweatshops. Workers were sleeping next to sewing machines, doing 16-hour shifts, making just a few dollars a day. And while that was happening, Dior was out here walking down red carpets, showing off $6,000 bags built off that same cheap labor. It is full-blown slave labor energy. And let's be real, nobody's clapping for that anymore.
And those Italian leather handbags that you're so proud of are most probably made in China. So what then justifies the ridiculous cost?
And just when it seemed like it couldn't get any more disgusting, it absolutely did. Receipts started flooding in. Cold, hard, shameful receipts. That $2,800 Dior bag everyone flexes on Instagram costs a laughable $57 to make. That $1,500 Louis Vuitton Neverfull tote? Barely $50 worth of labor and materials. We are talking about insane price increases that should come with a trigger warning. Dropping thousands for something cheaper than your Sunday brunch bill is peak clownery, and consumers are finally wiping the clown makeup off.
This by 50 times is daylight robbery. Luxury brands are preying on people's sense of insecurity and need for social validation. You may be thinking you're paying for premium leather and craftsmanship, but actually, you're paying for the glitzy marketing campaigns and the fancy stores.
Meanwhile, TikTokers went full investigative journalist mode. Viral videos showing workers stitching up bags that suspiciously resembled Dior, Louis Vuitton, and Gucci. TikTok tried to sweep it under the rug by banning accounts, but the receipts were already screenshotted, archived, and blasted across the digital universe.
Do you recognize this style, this bag? Of course you do. For the past more than 30 years, we have been OEM factory for most of the luxury brands around the world. Gucci, Prada, Coach, Louis Vuitton, you name it. But for this, I am not proud because we were only making our wages. The profit margin for the people who are actually making the bags are very low. What I'm really proud of is that first, we have the best quality control. Two, we have the best craftsmanship. You know, Chinese craftsmen are always intelligent and diligent. Three, we have the most complete supply chain. We always get what we want, like zippers, accessories of any kind, any color, and leathers immediately. Now, as the USA and its little European brothers are trying to refuse Chinese goods, don't you think luxury brands are not trying to move their OEM out of China? Yes, they did, but they failed because the OEM factories out of China, they don't have good quality control and they don't have as good craftsmanship. Their workers are either too expensive or too lazy. Three, they don't have any supply chain. They always have trouble getting leather or zippers or any accessories. That is why they failed, and that is why we will always be the best OEM factory for luxury brands. Why don't you just contact us and buy from us? You won't believe the prices we give you.
The illusion had finally shattered. People weren't buying the fantasy anymore, not after years of being fed polished lies about heritage craftsmanship and timeless quality. Behind those luxury storefronts were sweatshops where workers earned barely $3 an hour, hidden behind locked factory doors. The truth was brutal. Tradition had nothing to do with it. It was all just exploitation, mass-produced and disguised with shiny logos and empty prestige. Now that the curtain was pulled back, what the world saw wasn't elegance. It was greed, ego, and cheap labor wrapped in designer packaging. The mess wasn't just messy, it was a full-fledged disaster, and it smelled like a dying dynasty. Overnight, DHgate and Taobao became the go-to plug. People realized they didn't need to drop thousands to flex, not when they could get the same quality for cheap. Luxury labels had no comeback. Their fake status collapsed right in front of them. It wasn't subtle, it was loud, fast, and fatal to the brand myth.
终止力滚力，对应好运八方来，散了才能聚，你不出手说了斋。这把直接和，愿花钱交朋友，卖艺高人胆大，让那小马三条酒，回馈下社会先，摸到那顶皇冠后，找你做。
And just like that, Louis Vuitton boutiques went from status symbols to ghost towns. Step inside now and you'll see fancy shelves, silent registers, and sales staff frozen like museum pieces. In China, their crown jewel market, sales crashed 15%, and that massive Beijing flagship Bernard once bragged about is still closed, dusty, and standing like a monument to a dream too proud to admit it failed.
Got scammed. Celebs dropping 5,000 plus on Dior and Prada bags? For what? The same bags are made in China for a fraction of the price. These brands just take the cheap bags from Chinese factories, toss them into fancy stores, and boom, $20,000 price tag. A Chinese factory owner exposed the whole thing, and it's all because of the trade war and ridiculous taxes. So let me ask you, do you want me to show you how to get the exact same products, makeup, jewelry, fashion, and bags, directly from the source for less than $50?
Eventually, the luxury fantasy didn't just slip away. It was dragged, stomped, and left for dead in front of a global audience. Another blow came from the quiet war between old money and new money. The wealthy elite, once loyal to luxury, walked away when brands chased TikTok clout and influencer noise. Real wealth doesn't flash logos, it stays quiet. While new money showed off hauls, old money moved on to discreet, logo-free luxury. That shift cost Louis Vuitton a generation of loyal, high-paying buyers.
$2, $2, $2, $2, $2. Such a brand t-shirt costs only $2 in China. It's all like this. Independent packaging with tag. You can take it back to your country and sell it for $10, even $20. But you only spend $2. If you are interested in our brand t-shirt, you can follow me or leave me a message in the comment area.
Oh, it gets worse. Louis Vuitton thought they could smooth things over, but their idea of damage control? A joke. Instead of owning the mess, they hit loyal customers with surprise price hikes, slipping in a 3 to 6% increase like nobody would notice. With no warning and no explanation, it was a quiet little slap to the face, dressed up as business as usual. Hermès, at least, had the basic decency to pre-warn customers before robbing them blind. Louis Vuitton said, "You'll take this price hike and like it." And with that, the trust between brand and buyer didn't just fracture, it shattered into a million overpriced pieces. Guys, the real scandal runs way deeper than overpriced bags. For years, luxury brands looked the other way as counterfeits flooded the streets. Deep down, they knew it worked in their favor. The more fakes people saw, the more they craved the real thing. It was a dirty little secret, and they never thought it would blow up. But TikTok dragged it all into the light, and now the same brands that played the game are scrambling to clean up a mess they created. Underneath the glamour, the silence from these prestige brands spoke louder than any lawsuit ever could. There were no factory tours, artisan showcases, or behind-the-scenes videos, just dead silence and quiet panic behind golden doors. No, seriously, even Ferrari shares their manufacturing process with pride. Why are luxury brands like Louis Vuitton that simply stitch handbags and scarves want to hide their production process like it's a crime scene? Well, it's a crime scene given the pathetic working conditions those underpaid, overworked employees are subjected to down in China. Still, the real victory today belongs to the Chinese manufacturers who played the long game better than anyone. They cut out the greedy middlemen, held onto the leather, the skills, the craftsmanship, and threw the $3,000 scams straight into the trash where they belonged. The so-called luxury giants got exposed, and the real winners were the very people they tried to blame. Bernard Arnault couldn't weather the storm. He lost $9 billion in one brutal morning as LVMH's stock crashed. After years of leading the luxury world, he's now watching his empire fall apart, one overpriced piece at a time. Now, here's the thing. Luxury isn't about labels anymore. It's about transparency. It's about receipts. It's about demanding honesty from brands that have been lying through their teeth for decades. Louis Vuitton, once the cockiest rooster in the yard, is now a silent ghost haunting its own empty boutiques. And that's why many believe that Bernard's retirement isn't a victory lap. It's a strategic, desperate escape from the firestorm he helped ignite. Oh, best believe when I tell you this is just the beginning. Luxury brands back themselves into a corner, raise prices, and they lose the few loyal buyers they have left. Lower them, and the whole exclusive image falls apart. Either way, they're stuck, and the empire is cracking. Generally speaking, today's luxury buyers aren't buying the fantasy anymore. They want receipts, where the bag was made, who made it, and why it cost so much. The smoke and mirrors are not cutting it. And now the brands are sweating badly. The situation is worse than you think. As the boutiques lie empty, TikTok is flooded with footage of deserted stores, once exclusive havens now looking like abandoned airport lounges. Better yet, China's luxury spending shrank by 15% this year, and Europe and America are speedwalking toward the same cliff. The win isn't about a $4,000 bag anymore. It's about knowing you didn't get played. And there's more. That massive 5-story Louis Vuitton palace in Beijing Bernard once bragged about is now, it's just sitting there, empty and dusty. A sad reminder of broken illusions and a brand too proud to see the fall coming. The luxury fantasy didn't just die, it combusted. Billions lost, stocks bleeding out, desperate sales emails disguised as friendly check-ins. The industry is gasping for air, and the buyers aren't biting. What destroyed the empire wasn't lawsuits or scandals. It was raw, ruthless doubt, distrust, and a new breed of TikTok investigators who weren't afraid to dig deep and expose every dirty secret. And it's not just Gen Z calling things out. Even older buyers, the ones who used to drop thousands without a second thought, are backing off. With inflation up, the economy shaky, and prices climbing, people aren't wasting money on labels anymore. They've got bigger priorities now. Even Birkins, once the crown jewel of the peacocking culture, gathered dust on clearance racks, chasing clout that's no longer there. The luxury party is done, lights out, and the music is mute. Louis Vuitton can toss ads around all day, but without real proof, real makers, real honesty, the fantasy is finished. No one's buying it anymore. Meanwhile, the so-called bad guys, the Chinese manufacturers are quietly winning the long game. They held on to the quality, stripped away the lies and backed it all up with receipts. The leather didn't change, the stitching didn't change, the bags didn't change, only the price tag did. And with it, the illusion fell apart. We're living in a completely different world now, one where the shine of a luxury logo doesn't blind people the way it used to. The mystique has faded. Luxury isn't dead, but it's been fully unmasked, and what's underneath isn't so glamorous. Today, authenticity has replaced flash. The new status symbol isn't a bag you had to fight for, it's proof that you didn't get scammed for one. As for Bernard Arnault, the man once seen as the untouchable emperor of high fashion, he's making a quiet exit, moving like someone who knows the dream is collapsing. The empire he built on smoke, mirrors, and inflated egos is now crumbling right in front of him. Because in today's world, showing off cash means nothing if it's built on lies. Standing in your truth, that's the real power now. Also, fewer people are buying fairy tales wrapped in logos and price tags anymore. The only label that matters now is authenticity, because the days of luxury myths are gone and buried, and the funeral's already over. Hit that like button, subscribe, and grab a front row seat while the luxury giants eat themselves alive.